I heard from Clark that both you and your mother would be coming over to our house today. And I shouldn't forget that your father will also be coming. Why are you guys coming here again? I was thinking this weekend it would be just the two of us celebrating. After all, that's what I told Clark that I had been wanting to do. Hello, Demi. I'm sorry that it took me this long to get in touch with you about this. My parents and I are just planning to come around to say congrats to my brother, and then after that, we'll take off. We have no plans of staying long, besides to just drop him off a few things, so don't worry about us. It's been a long time since we've been out to see you guys, so even a short time will make all of us happy. That right there is just you guys coming here for money now, isn't it? What? What do you mean we'd just be going there for money? Us? You're only coming now after hearing about how Clark became a lawyer, right? And because you now know that your younger brother and your parents' son is going to have a lot more money coming in, right? Are you not embarrassed to be a part of his family when you all don't have the kind of money he does? Or could it be that you low-life families have no idea what shame feels like? Hold it right there, Demi. What was all of that about just then? You're acting like my family is coming out just to ask for some money. My parents and I would never do something like that. We happen to all be doing just fine in terms of money, and even if we weren't, we would never be asking my brother to help us. You must not be very aware of much then, if that's your assumption of us, right? I can just imagine that all of you are really struggling with money right now is all. When I got a look at you, as well as your plain old mom, I knew. With looks like that, there's no way either of you could have anything more than a couple $100 in your bank account right now. In your case, you're 35 years old now, but are still living with your parents unmarried, right? That right there makes you quite the loser, doesn't it? You poor thing. What the heck are you rambling on about right now? My parents and I are not in need of any money at all. And after having spoken with my brother, Annie, you should be aware of that too, right? I'm sure he hasn't told you much about what we all do for a living, but he never said anything about us not having money. And in my case, I'm not living with my parents in their house. I just go to their place for work. And at times, if I have to stay late, I'll stay the night at their place instead of going all the way home. But all of that has nothing to do with you now, does it? All of those excuses make you look even more sad. Anyway, I think you all should give up on coming over here, all right? If you all come here looking for money, I'll have to figure something out for you guys, and that would cause some trouble for Clark. How about you three think about how he's feeling for once? Demi, if you think you could just judge all of us without first thinking about things, you're going to really regret your choices later. I'm just going to leave you with this now. Take care not to say too much when talking about things you don't understand. I'm going to talk with Clark now, so goodbye. Clark, we told you that this weekend Mom, Dad, and I would all be coming out, right? It doesn't seem that your wife is really on board with all of that, and actually it seems she has a few misunderstandings about us. How are things going over there? It doesn't sound like either of you are communicating very well together, so I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something more we could be doing to help you guys.
Well, I told her that you three would be coming over this weekend, but she's decided to misunderstand all of that on purpose, as well as get the complete wrong idea about you guys. I've told her over and over now that things aren't the way she thinks, but every time I say something, she only proceeds to make up more things that are wrong. And by this point, she's being such a pain that I don't want to talk with her about it anymore.
Does that mean she's just trying to piss everyone off on purpose? Because after some of the things she was saying about us, that sort of seems to be the only logical case. Clark, I think you need to pull yourself together and wrap all of that up before she goes off the rails. I'm sure you haven't told her anything about the business we all have, but since she's a part of this family and you'll be joining us soon, she has to know. I wouldn't want her to start thinking she can actually say such rude things to Mom and Dad and I without there being any sort of consequences for it.
I have been wanting to talk with her about that, but there really haven't been any chances for me, and with me always being busy and coming home late, she's never at home or awake for me to talk to. Actually, quite recently, she hasn't been around the house much at all when I've been getting home, and won't come back home until the early morning, around 1 or 2 in the morning. But today, she said she's gonna be home all day, so I'll go have a word with her about everything.
Is she working nights or something right now? Because I know that a couple of months ago you were telling me how she wanted a change of pace at work.
Well, actually, she's not even working now because after I told her I would become a lawyer, she went and quit her job. She had always hated working, so I knew something like that would be coming, but I just never expected her to leave her job so quickly after I said to her that I passed my exams. I promised her that I'd be able to take care of her with my income, and so that's what I'll be doing, I guess.
Did you guys both talk at all about the fact that she'd want to be quitting like that once it was certain you were getting a job?
Not really. I'd tried to talk with her about things like that before, but every time I brought up her work and mine, she would go on her phone and never really participate.
I know I shouldn't be saying this from my position and all, but as a married couple, you both need to talk a bit more. I'm not sure what I should be saying here, but I can feel you both aren't as close to one another as you should be on things. You really need to explain everything to her about the family business here soon and make sure she's actually listening to you instead of going on her phone. I get that when you both started dating and everything, we didn't talk much about the family business, but now things are different with you both being married. It's not like mom and dad are trying to hide things from her anymore now, right? So why are you still holding back?
That's a good point. I've been thinking about that a lot, actually. It's just that considering our family, I knew there would be all kinds of girls trying to get into it through me.
We're well aware of that, but we think that since you're married now, things are different.
Maybe I was being too hesitant in order to protect mom and dad, but you're right that I'm married to Demi now, so I really do need to tell her everything.
That's right. She's already been getting the wrong idea of all three of us here and making fun of us for it. Hearing her say the things she says about mom and dad has left me clenching my fists, Clark, which means I need you to explain things to her before we come this weekend so that there isn't any more of this BS, all right?
All right, I'll get it done. Sorry for getting y'all worried about us. And sorry that some of this lack of communication has led to her talking poorly about you all. I'll get all of these misunderstandings she has about you squared up by the end of today.
That's fine, and thank you for doing that. Anyway, congrats on passing those exams. I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, as well as giving you the gift Mom and I prepared. I can't believe you all actually came. Thank God I got Clark out of the house by sending him to get the groceries. Demi, what's going on here? You're inside the house, right? Could you please come and get the door for us? My parents and I have been waiting out here. I have no desire of giving this house to the poor. Excuse me? You're still thinking about us all that way, as poor people? Didn't my brother have a word with you before today? He was going on about all sorts of things to me, but from the start I never really wanted to listen to him. That's really something else then. You both are a married couple, so you should be listening to one another. Anyway, it's cold out here, so let us inside. Fine, then pay me $10,000 to get in. Huh? Why $10,000? That's your entrance fee. I want you to prove to me that you're not as poor as you look. I have no idea what you're going on about now. Why should we have to pay anything to be here to celebrate my brother's success? I have no idea why we should even have to pay to see my brother in the first place. This place isn't just my husband's house, but my house as well now. And as a way of defending it, I should be keeping all of you poor beggars away from it, right? Would you stop being so rude, calling us poor and beggars? Pull yourself together and just cut all of that childish crap out for me. You're all the ones that need to pull yourselves together, you lowlifes. This whole time, not one of you have ever really come out to see Clark, yet now that he's become a lawyer, you all want to see him. Are you all really that happy about his success now? You all should feel embarrassed by yourselves, you lowlife beggars. Demi, that right there was the last straw. Now, would you please get this door? I want the three of us to explain to you in detail what my parents and I do for a living that is so important to you and my brother. As long as you pay me $10,000. You're still talking about that entrance fee? Cut that crap out right now. Seriously. If you three poor losers want to come into my house to beg us for some money, you first have to pay the entrance fee. And if you can't pay it, then get lost. Then we're going home. All right, goodbye forever. I'm so happy to see the trash taking itself out for once. Can we also consider this us all cutting ties to one another now? We don't have any use for the 3 piles of trash anymore after all. Understood. Then let's cut ties. I'll let Clark know about what you're asking for as well. Are you sure that's really what you want, though? I don't care what you talk about with him, because he will always care about my feelings and I the most. He should have cut ties to the 3 of you lowlifes from the very start, I think. Demi, you're going to regret all of this immediately after I talk with him. But if you're going to hate anyone for that afterwards, it better be yourself and nobody else. Goodbye forever now. As you've asked, we'll all be cutting ties to you now. I can't seem to get in touch with your mother right now. Do you have any idea where she is or what she's doing at the moment? It seems I can't get a call through to your father either. Hey, Annie, do you mind calling with me right now? What do you want to talk about? Because I have nothing to talk about with you anymore. Wait, I have a lot to talk with you about. So please call me right now. I listened to what all Clark had to say to me this time, so this would be about that. Call this me wanting to check on what he was talking about with you or something. Check with me about it? What all do you have to check with a stranger about now? You and I cut ties to one another already, right? Things have turned out just the way you asked for, so would you please stop talking to me forever now? I don't have time to talk to those that don't want to listen to me anymore. No, wait. Let me ask you this one question. Are you and your parents really all lawyers right now? You're going to ask the obvious. Well, we are lawyers, yes, but what does that have to do with you? The place where Clark is going to work, I heard from him that it's going to be his father's law firm. That can't really be the case, right? But it is the case. Why would my brother, of all people, lie about something like that to his own wife? This family has never lied about anything to someone like you. There's no reason for doing that, right? What? So then that really means you're all a family of lawyers? Why didn't anybody tell me such an important piece of information? This family doesn't really like to go out telling that fact to everyone. If we were to just be open about ourselves, there would be a lot of people who would like to take advantage of us, okay? We all had planned on talking with you about it in more detail once we all could trust you didn't just marry my brother for his money. Plenty of people have tried that before with him and I, and so we need to take extra caution. But we all did make sure to tell you one thing about us, which just so happened to be that important detail. We all work in the world of the legal system, per se. So you should have connected some dots there, which were pretty obvious. Telling me that wasn't a lie now? That's not even what I'm talking about here. I heard that you all aren't going to hire Clark into your law firm now, right? That's left him really, really upset with me now. It has? I don't get why you're so worried about him being upset, though. Didn't you say that you wanted us all to cut ties to you? You think we were going to let him come work for us still if you don't want anything to do with us? If we're having to cut ties to you, then we have to limit our exposure to him the best we can as well, right? That's how we view the idea of cutting ties. What? So then that means you guys are really no longer going to take him on? You're telling me that right as he's finished all of his exams and was ready to be hired as a lawyer, his own family's going to be abandoning him? That's really heartless of all 3 of you, isn't it? Heartless? Then what do you call someone who goes through with cutting ties to all her husband's family after purposefully calling them all poor, low-life beggars? Doesn't that make you even worse than heartless? You're going to make me laugh now. I can see here that there's no reason to be talking to you anymore. Now, since you have nothing else important to say to me, goodbye. Like you were told, my parents and I are all lawyers, and we all happen to work for the same law firm. That was all you wanted to check with me about, right? I cannot believe that that's actually the truth, though. That has to be the truth, though, right? Since Clark is so mad about things now. Well, perhaps he's mad that because he had to find out that the people who were supporting him all the way through school and those that helped him with his exams were being asked by you to pay $10,000 to come into your house. You gave us the choice of either paying you that money to be let in or cut ties to you and never see one another again, right? I'm pretty sure that right there was enough to tell Clark all he needed to know about you, Demi. Because of your behavior, he's now going to have to start from step 1 in finding a job. But he is a lawyer now, after all, so that won't be too hard. However, he really did want to join the family's law firm. Because of you, he's no longer being allowed that chance. Clark told me all these ridiculous things, like if your father doesn't forgive him and give him that job, then he's going to kick me out of the house and never let me back in. You're calling that ridiculous? I like to think that's the most sensical thing he's said in a long time to you. I think he's making the right call there. I think you need to be made to think about what all you've done here. And when it comes to my parents, I'm not sure they'll be easy to talk with now that they both had to receive all that harsh treatment from your rude attitude. Don't say things like that! I'm not even able to get through to your mother or father anymore, and you're the only person I have left to talk to about this, Annie. Can you please hand your phone over to your mother for me? I need to tell her that I never meant anything by all of that. Why should I have to get my mom involved in all of this again? Is there really any reason for me to be helping you now at all? I mean, you were the one tearing into me without letting me speak because you thought you could just have the right to judge me with no context at all. And actually, I hate you a lot now. We all do here in this family. So having you want to cut ties to us all has really left us feeling relieved and happy. Hey, Annie, you don't have to say things like that about this, right? I apologize for calling you all poor based off the way you all looked. I made a mistake there. So please, forgive your brother at least and let him have that job back that he was looking forward to. His job had nothing to do with my poor choices, right? I don't need you thinking about me, but at least think about how Clark feels right now. I like that you're finally wanting us to care about your husband more than you. But can't you see that this is all your fault and not ours? Also, I talked with Clark already. He told me that he spoke with you about everything in regards to his new job and his family. He said that you probably already noticed some things about the family that made it seem like he'd be coming to work here. So he wanted to make sure you knew everything about it. What? Clark came and told me about all of that? But the thing is, you never even looked up at him when he was talking. You just sat there on your phone typing away with someone else. Clark already told me about how you've rarely even been home when he's around, so there hasn't been enough time for him in general to talk with you. In other words, you never listened to my brother and only replied with yep and okay with no real understanding. And because of that, you were left in the dark on your own behalf, right? That pretty much means you set yourself up for failure and can't be blaming anyone else for it, right? That means what happens next is all your responsibility and nobody else's. And considering you told your husband's whole family off, we don't want to talk with you anymore. And since Clark is married to you, that means we cannot allow him to work close to us either. So we'll have him go and find a new job now. We have to make sure we have no relation to you and your family whatsoever. No way! Then you're being serious? You're going to abandon the both of us? Well, whatever. I'm going to be straightforward with you now. Clark has said to me that if you don't give him his job back that he was promised, then he's going to divorce me. I left my job all because I learned he was going to become a lawyer. Don't you feel like dicks if you let something like divorce happen to me? If I have to lose my Clark, I'll have nothing left. That sounds like a problem between you and Clark then. Leave me out of it. Especially since I've been wanting to cut ties to you this whole time, so your troubles mean nothing to me. Hold on a second there. You shouldn't have to be so cold by saying that to me. What's going to happen to me, Annie? I was finally so happy thinking that my life would be perfect since my husband was becoming a lawyer of all things. Had you really cared about your husband and the life you were going to live with him, you would have never quit your job without talking to him first. And you would have never made all those remarks about his family without knowing the context first. And you would have listened to him more instead of being on your phone all the time or out of the house, right? Well, too late for me to be telling you that now, though. Please, forgive me, Annie. Please allow Clark to work for you guys. I promise to become a good wife from now on. I promise to never say anything rude about you or your parents ever again. It's too late now. And even if you can get my forgiveness, when it comes to my dad, he's not as lenient. Therefore, don't expect him to ever be giving Clark a job at his firm now after what you've done and said. Now, goodbye to you forever, Demi. Aren't you just so happy that you no longer have to be family with this group of low-life beggars anymore? Although it's not just that you've cut ties to us now, considering you're going to most likely lose your husband as well now.
I tried talking with Dad about it all, but it seems I'm really not going to be able to work with you all now. Having now realized that it's hopeless to ask anymore, I'm going to start working on my own affairs now and tidying them all up. And after that, I'll find work somewhere else and try to become as great a lawyer as all of you.
I'm glad to hear you're moving forward now. Do you really think you can find somewhere else around to work, though?
Dad introduced me to one of his colleagues, so as of right now, things are in the works between that colleague and me.
Is that right? Oh, great to hear. I know Dad can be a bit of a hard ass, but he's still worried about you at all times, so he'll do everything he can to make sure you're all right.
I know that, and that's why I need to get my act together now.
Having heard all of this, I can assume what's happening next with you and... Well, what's your plan for Demi?
I'm divorcing her for sure. I sort of knew this was going on, but she'd really been cheating on me.
I sort of assumed the same thing, which really sucks. When you brought up that she was going out every night but didn't have a job anymore, I knew something was going on there. I hope that didn't hurt you too much now, though.
I've been planning on becoming a marriage and divorce lawyer for a very long time, so this won't bother me one bit. I already know where the man she's been with works and where he's been living. So I'll make sure he pays up along with her and that they both go and rot in hell for what they've done to me.
Hearing that from you brings me a lot of hope. That's why you're a part of this family.
But I really did enjoy being married somewhat. I mean, you've had to deal with all sorts of marriage issues relating to your job, so I know how you feel about getting married yourself. But I want you to make sure to give a try sometime. I've always worried about you regarding that and thought you might need someone helping you out there.
Stop worrying about me. But thanks for the offer. I'll think about all of that. Anywho, I'm just glad to hear that you're still moving on from all that's happened. Sure, you might not be working for our firm now, but you are still a part of this family. If you ever need any help with anything, don't be afraid to ask me about it.
Thank you so much, Annie. I'm so sorry for all the trouble this caused you.
Don't worry about it. And congrats on successfully graduating and passing all of your exams. Please enjoy your brand new life as a single lawyer from now on, okay? After that, I received a few messages from Demi every now and again, but having to talk with her was too much of a hassle, so I just ignored them all. She was trying to get me to stay in touch with her and everything so that we'd grow closer to one another, but I had no intentions of bothering with her crap anymore. And after some time, those text messages from her that I'd get would turn into calls in the middle of the night, where she'd leave me a voicemail crying about how she'd be losing everything and that it was all my fault because I never bothered to help her. With all of that studying Clark had done, he was well aware of what he could do to both Demi and her secret lover in court, and was able to act as his own lawyer as he got a settlement from the both of them. One morning, I just decided that it was time to block her number altogether, and since then I haven't had to hear from her ever again. When it came to Demi and Clark, he was able to take her and her secret man to court over them having a relationship behind his back. There he fought them by himself since he'd studied for years now to become a divorce lawyer and knew all the ins and outs of things like getting settlements for unfaithfulness in a couple's relationship. So by the end of the case, there was nothing Demi or her man could do in terms of fighting the settlement Clark was bound to get from them. They both ended up having to pay him some major settlements and would not be able to pay it all out to him right away due to the large amount. When that court case had concluded, Demi was kicked out of my brother's house while he began to finish up all the paperwork for their divorce, and she had to move back home to her parents' house. However, when both of her parents heard about what he'd done, they both told her that she would need to get a job within a week or else they'd kick her out as well and disown her. So within that time, she ended up getting 2 part-time jobs, which she's now working both day and night, all so that she'll have the money not only to pay off that settlement to Clark, but to afford the rent that her parents are forcing her to pay. After that divorce had been dealt with and the only relation my brother had to Demi was that settlement, Clark was able to freely move on from thinking about Demi, and was then able to focus all of his attention on getting a new job. Considering that he's my little brother, I just know that he's doing his best wherever he ends up going. And from what he told me our dad did for him, he'll most likely be going to my dad's colleague's office in town to work for their law firm. And honestly, I think that'll suit him far better than our law firm for the time being, since its main focus is that of marriage-based lawsuits and such. And I'm sure there'll be a day someday that my brother will be allowed to come and work for the family firm. But until that day actually comes, he's going to have to prove himself out there in the field, and hopefully find himself a better woman to bring home. As for myself, nothing really changed for me during all of these rather annoying and frustrating events. I never really had a relationship with Demi, and so her no longer being a part of the family didn't faze me in any other way than making me happy. Now, as for what my brother was saying about me trying marriage out now, I'm not so sure I'll follow him up on that recommendation. However, I have been with a man that I really enjoy being around for some time now, who I've kept a secret from my family. So we'll see where my feelings for him end up taking me. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.